There is something special about you, Judah. There is something special about you, Israel, or Yashara'al. When I say Judah, Yahwadah. That is the ancient pronunciation of the word. There is something special about you, Judah. Yahweh only spoke to you, to us, as a nation. And he spoke to no other nation. That's why we are supposed to be what? That light. We're Yah's chosen people that's separated. We're supposed to be the nation that's teaching the nations, not the nations teaching us.
Lion of Judah come upon the earth, bringing unquenchable fire. All the tribes of Israel and the believers stand in power. Speak with authority, worship uncontrollably. There's something about you, Judah. Fire upon the kingdom of darkness. We may suffer for a little while, but joy cometh in the morning.
Judah special, no wonder we were a chosen vessel. In and out of captivity, weaving like a pretzel. Messiah come through the tribe, clean out the bloodline. We disciples, so put us up on the front line. Face to face with crime, cause we ain't scared to grind. When you connect the divine, we stay pressed for time. Evangelize, get defined, put us in prison in. Worship first, can we always invite the spirit in. Cause revival through a pen, stacking souls in empty bins. Joy in the morning, this a warning, you will never win. Fire upon the head of the serpent, he next tail chirping. It's too late cause your tears already burning. I don't want your riches, gotta match it with gold streets. Rubies all around me, the light shine, no police. The living used to be deceased, resurrected to a feast. Nothing like being in peace at the table with the meat.
Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Shalom, shalom. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Family, there's a lot of stuff going on today. A lot of stuff going on this weekend. A lot of stuff that went on just before this weekend. A lot of, I would just call it like, groundbreaking historic stuff happening this week that happened this weekend. But because of all the stuff that's going on, whether of course, we know about the FIFA stuff and we know about, Juneteenth and all this other stuff, most high willing, we will touch on that here soon. Not within this video, might just, briefly touch on it in this video, but for the most part, take a greater look into it, most high willing tomorrow. But just a lot of stuff going on, family. So I just wanted to hop on here real quick. I've been AWOL, working on a bunch of stuff in the background. That's the thing about, also working on Moedim. The Moedim, I'm loving how the Moedim series is coming together. Most high willing, when we bring that out, family, the Moedim series is kind of like, if you've ever watched some of those Bible movies or stories, I think that this latest animation is crazy, fam. That crazy animation video that came out about David or something like that. And of course, it was all Europeanized. It's all whitewashed or whatnot. But it's similar to that in that it's going to tell stories of the Bible from a different perspective, a very, very different perspective. And you will get the gist of what I'm talking about during the very first episode. Because the very first episode is going to talk about Abraham, how you've never, ever heard about it before. I always try to give you something that you haven't had or haven't heard before, right? That's been my belief is to go beyond the pages of the book, go beyond the story. And I believe I kind of touched on some of that in this very first episode, where we're going to talk about Abraham and go into the story of Abraham. And you're going to see aspects of Abraham like you've never seen it before. Of course, this isn't just a regular book. This is what I call a graphic novel. So illustrations. And that's what I've been working on lately, family. Just trying to get the illustrations working properly. Whenever you're working with AI, it can be a struggle sometimes. It can be a struggle sometimes. And I'll just leave it at that. But working through it, making some progress. And so as far as the Moedim, just as a reminder, so Moedim is going to be for our Patreon community. initially. So if you haven't joined our Patreon community, just want to encourage you to do so. Patreon community, really family, it is a community where you, for I believe it's the entry point there is just $5 a month. Is literally less than the cost of a cup of coffee a month, just asking for your support. That your support via Patreon goes a long way as into helping sustain this platform, through all the attacks, through all the wiles and schemes of the enemy. You know how they do, family. But whenever you help us to remain independent, remain isolated from that, this is what our part of what our Patreon platform does. It's not the only one, but it's just part of that strategy. And in order to reward or support, back our Patreon supporters, we're putting out exclusive content to our Patreon family, which is one of which is the Moedim. The Moedim series again we're going to run some promos on it. Definitely going to give you a sneak peek of it. May even give you the first episode. How they do, give you the first episode, let you check it out. That way you can kind of get a feel of what it is, what it's about, and see exactly what I'm saying when I tell you it's different. It's different than what you've seen. Like all these different stories, of course, is not going to be whitewashed, and it's going to show you an aspect of the scriptures that you're going to be like, man, it's there, but I didn't see it. It's there, especially when it comes to Abraham. People don't. Okay. All right. Don't want to give away too much. But anyway, it's coming. So be on the lookout for that. Like I said, it's on the list of things to do, things that I'm currently working on. So working on trying to get that out. Another thing that's in the pipeline that's currently being worked on is, so the African Israelite Justice Foundation, we have a conference. It's a virtual conference scheduled for this coming weekend. And let me see if I can share my screen. Just want to show you a flyer if it will let me show it, because sometimes it doesn't show properly. All right, so hopefully that shows. But this is just to let you know that we do have an upcoming session, an upcoming conference, virtual conference this weekend. So we'll let you know if there's any changes. But for now, it's scheduled for this coming Sunday with a 2 p.m. start time, 2 p.m. Eastern start time. And same cost as last time, $25 per session on this one. Have 2 new dynamic speakers. If you were able to join us for the last conference, that we had 2 dynamic speakers. And, I think likewise, you will be blessed in this session as well. Brother Lance Hamilton, one of our AI entrepreneurs, is going to speak with us about AI. And also Brother Stephen Robinson, he's also going to speak with us about home preparedness and resilience. And you're going to need it based off of some of the stuff that we're going to review with you today. You're going to see that this world is teetering on the precipice, family, of a major shift, of a major change. Even while we're on this live right now, something could happen. That's how close I believe we are, family. And praise be to the Most High. Don't ever think I'm trying to fearmonger or anything like that, family. Because at the end of the day, we're only going to be able to make it through by the grace and mercy of the Most High Yah. So we all, just encourage everyone to remain on your knees in prayer, in fasting, and vigilance and belief in the Most High. I know it can be daunting sometimes, family. It can be discouraging sometimes, family, because we are all going through it. We all feel it, family. I don't believe there's anybody that's impervious to what's going on, whether it be in the daughter of America, whether it be the daughter of Babylon or America, whoever you think daughter of Babylon is. But wherever you are in the world, I believe every single person is feeling it. Every single person is recognizing and realizing that, there's a pressure, there's a pain point, there's a revelation and a realization in the Black community that something's not right, in that it's impacting us. We can't even go out and enjoy, some people were trying to go out and enjoy Juneteenth. Regardless of how you feel about it, Juneteenth was one of those things where people just tried to go out and enjoy Juneteenth. And check this out. This is where this is what some of the problems that our family ran into.
All right, so guys, so we're in real time right now. So we're in Dallas, Texas right now, and the cops are shutting us down. As you can see, there's nothing but black people out here. We're out here celebrating for Juneteenth. We ain't minding our business. Everybody got their own shit. Everybody's chilling. Nobody's doing nothing. No, they just don't like black joy. And I'm about to show everybody. And I brought this for a reason because they don't want us to have a good time. They don't want us to be peaceful. They don't want us to enjoy the freedom that we had 2 years later. I want you guys to see this. Ain't nobody bothering nothing. Everybody brought out their tent. It's like you're tailgating any other day on somebody's private property. But yet we have to go. Nobody's doing anything wrong. Everybody's car got checked coming in here. But yet we have to go. They done made everybody turn the music off. Obviously somebody, saw too many people freaking smiling, and this is what they decided to do. This is in Dallas, Texas. We are in Lancaster, Texas right now, and this is pissing me off. Like, look at the beauty in here. Look at the beauty of the different black bodies in this place. Okay? Ain't nobody doing nothing. Nobody was doing nothing. Everybody was peaceful. We were always chilling. I've been out here for 2 hours now, but all of a sudden, we're supposed to be here, to be here till 9:30. That's when the event is supposed to be ending. This event has been on the books for months and months and months, but they won't give us any explanation, and then they're just making us all leave. When we've done nothing wrong. This is America. This is America. This is America. There is no such thing as black joy. If we even smile, laugh, anything that does not have control of the white patriarchy, then it gets destroyed just like this. We can't even have our own Juneteenth celebration. We can't have our own Juneteenth celebration. This is an atrocity.
All right. So if you're wondering what you're looking at, so of course, that first clip that you saw, that you heard, Sisters is in Texas. She was in Dallas, Texas. They were trying to get together, that she said, on private property to honor, to reverence, to celebrate Juneteenth. Like, regardless of how you feel about it, I kind of wonder how we should celebrate that sometimes. I just got to be honest with your family, because it's like Juneteenth was a day where they freed the slaves, but they didn't free the slaves. So we ended up working and was still in slavery, but then we finally got free. So I don't know. I mean, you can put your comments in the comment section, but how do you feel about that? It's almost like, so we're free. I don't know. So, but because there's things that happen immediately after the Emancipation Proclamation, of course, the building out of this criminal justice system, which adversely impacted our community. It was just another form of enslavement. But anyway, we're not getting into that today, but just wanted to share that with you. And then I just also wanted to follow that up with the video of another place in Texas, because again, we're talking about FIFA, right? So all the World Cup that's going around. I'm based out of Atlanta, if you don't know. So even here in Atlanta, it's been bonkers. We had a couple, I think 2 matches so far. And of course, if you're trying to work downtown, they literally shut down the streets. Police officers will direct you in a direction that you do not want to go. I mean, if your destination is to the right and they're making you go to the left, they're like, no, you got to go to the left. That's it. I'm sorry. I know you got to go to the right. You got to go to the left. And that's how they do. And so traffic is just crazy. It's gridlocked. Usually you're stuck in motion, or stuck not in motion, but you're stuck in traffic for hours, minutes, hours. It can be crazy. So anyway, all that to say, family, that when it comes to the Juneteenth celebration, these people were in Texas on private property, having what's, folks would call like tailgating. Excuse me. Tailgating. And then, of course, police showed up, told them that they had to turn the music down, they had to get off, they had to disperse, even though it was on private property. Whereas the Juneteenth celebration, this is what you see on the screen, this is also in Texas, but they're able to take over blocks, right? Blocks of streets, play music, dance in the street, right? All this other stuff. So it just goes to show you, like, one is a celebration of a football game, a soccer game, and the other is a celebration of the true emancipation, the freeing of the slaves. But it was the celebration of the freeing of the slaves in Texas was the one that they shut down. Think about that, family. I'm just pointing out. Think about that. They would allow the soccer celebration in the streets, in the public streets, but they wouldn't allow the celebration of the freeing of the slaves on private property. I'm just saying, it's a wicked, evil world that we're currently living in. And this is the daughter of Babylon. Because in the meantime, while all this stuff is occurring, while all this stuff is happening, there's a major shift occurring with the daughter of Babylon. Because one of the things we know about the scriptures is that you can't treat however you treat the true children of Israel, however you treat them, that judgment is going to come back upon you. If you treat them badly, those curses are going to come upon you. That's book. So when when you see the daughter of Babylon doing what they're doing, you shouldn't be surprised when we start to see things like this.
And it was an amazing military feat that took place yesterday. Think of it, an amazing military. People are saying it goes down with one of the most incredible. It was so complex, 152 airplanes, many, talk about boots on the ground. We had a lot of boots on the ground. But it was amazing. And think of it, nobody was killed. And on the other side, a lot of people were killed.
Now, what we're talking about here, family, in this particular clip, this is going all the way back to the Venezuelan kidnapping of their president. Donald Trump is bragging, just like, he had been doing all the way up until that point, about how America's military is the best, greatest in the nation. Nobody could stop him. Very boastful. And you could just see the setup coming, almost like Pharaoh, right? Very boastful. And so this is what he's talking about. And we're going to kind of progress through time to see what changed or how his disposition changed from the point in time of the Venezuelan, we'll call it operation, to this stuff that's happening in today, actually this very weekend in Iran. Unfortunately,
I say that soldiers, Cubans, mostly Cubans, but many killed, and they knew we were coming. The electricity for almost the entire country was boom, turned off. That's when they knew there was a problem. There was no electricity. Caracas, there's no electricity. It's not the only people with lights were the people that had candles. It was just off. So we sort of got them a little by surprise, but it was brilliant tactically. It was an incredible thing. But I watched where Schumer, he's such a bad guy. I mean, I've known the guy for a long time. At some point they should say, you did a great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Wouldn't it be good? I would say that if they did a good job. Their philosophies are so different, but if they did a good job, I'd be happy for the country. They've been after this guy for years and years and years. And, he's a violent guy. But the United States proved once again that we have the most powerful, most lethal, most sophisticated, and most fearsome. It's a fearsome military on planet Earth, and it's not even close. I've been saying it for a long time. Nobody can take us.
And they sent Trump into a complete imbroglio, one of the worst military defeats, maybe the worst military defeat the United States has suffered. I say, period. Maybe since like the Civil War, which was just a defeat for the South and a sort of spiritual defeat for the American public because so many Americans killed each other. I left out Vietnam because the economic damage of Vietnam was contained. This was a defeat for U.S. empire that the U.S. will never recover from and will obliterate or will ultimately lead to the erosion of the power of the petrodollar. The Strait of Hormuz is still not open. The three marks helped lead Donald Trump into this, and now they stand exposed. And the sort of MAGA influencers who exist out of their loyalty to Trump and are just there to put forward whatever message Donald Trump wants them to put forward. There's actually a gap between the Israel firsters and the sort of MAGA loyalist paid influencers right now. You can see it.
This is a dramatic moment in the history of the Middle East and in world history, as important as the defeat of France by the Prussians in 1871 and the creation of united Germany. This is a strategic inflection point on a nearly global scale.
So think about that, family. How can you go from 1 month of saying that the U.S. is the greatest army of all times? Like, you know, how when Muhammad Ali, for those of you all that remember the video clips of Muhammad Ali saying, I'm the greatest of all times. I'm the greatest man of all, you know, I'm the baddest man in the world, right? How can you go from that to now what people are saying is that this, what we've witnessed is the greatest defeat, you know, arguably the greatest defeat of all times. Now, of course, the mainstream media is not saying this, and other, you know, all these CNN and Fox News, they're not saying it. But you find people on social media, like these pundits, these independent media folks are saying that what we have witnessed is historic beyond any means. Like what we've witnessed, what happened while you were sleeping, while you were getting up and going to Shabbat service or going to work, that the greatest defeat, arguably of all times, has just occurred from the time that Trump was boasting to this weekend. How did that happen? And it was done by the Persians of all people, right? It was done by the Persians of all people. Now, I saw that someone in the chat said prideful, and you are 100% on the mark with that. I totally agree with you on that. And that is the pride of Babylon's heart has deceived her. And let me see if I can pull this up, family, because actually I think that reminds me of the book of Obadiah. And let's see here if it will let me pull up the book of Obadiah. All right, so hopefully you can see that, family. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up another tab on this thing. And just to take a look at the book of Obadiah, because like I said, the comment that Babylon is very prideful is 100% on the mark. And it says the vision of Obadiah. This is, you know, of course, Obadiah chapter 1. The vision of Obadiah. Thus says Yahuwah, thy Elohim, concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahuwah. An ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise, you. Let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. So this daughter of Babylon is greatly despised. And it says, the pride, here we go, talking about prideful, right? The pride of thine heart has deceived thee. We are the greatest. We have the best, the most lethal military of all times. Nobody can touch us. We can do what we want. It says, verse 3, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, that says in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Remember, he said, no one can stop us. He's literally repeating the words of Obadiah, and he doesn't even know it, family. He doesn't even know it, which is crazy. And now, actually, while we're here, we're just going to pause just for a second. Yeah, forgive me for a moment, family. I'm trying to drink some water here and prevent from coughing. But aside from that, now you can find this in Obadiah, and this what I'm looking at is the King James version. But what I also want to show you too, family, is since we're here, since we're talking about the Bible, we're going to pull up a product by one of our brothers, and this is our brother. We have a couple of brothers that were working on a Bible app, and shout out to my brothers here, and they're going to share with you about this Israelite Bible app that, regardless of whether you say Yahuwah, Yahusha, whatever words you use for the Most High, Shalom, whatever words you can use this Bible app, and it will cater to your needs. Check it out, fam.
I'm Benaiah.
Shalom, I'm Akiz. Yahweh, Yeshua. For many of us believers, these are not new names.
They are names that were there all along. That's why Bible Journey allows you to personalize your reading experience and choose how the names of Yahweh, Yeshua, and Holy Spirit appear throughout Scripture. Many people have favorite verses. Many people have favorite books. But the Scriptures were given as a complete story. Every chapter matters, every book matters. Yet most people don't know how much of the Bible they've actually read. Bible Journey helps you track your progress through Scripture chapter by chapter and book by book. See exactly how far you've come, save meaningful verses, and build a consistent reading habit.
And when you're ready to go deeper, we have an app called Bible Reality. Bible Reality helps you study Scripture with the world of the passage in view. The people, the places, the geography, the connected passages, helping the text feel more real, more located, and easier to follow. One helps you stay consistent, one helps you go deeper. Together they help you read, understand, and engage with Scripture. Download Bible Journey and Bible Reality today. Link in the description.
All right. So you can see it there on the screen, House of Yah. It is available on Google. I'm not sure. I think the iPhone offering is still in the process of being rolled out. And let me see if I can pull my screen back up just to show this here. Let me take this off the stage. Yeah. So, like I said, I believe the here we go. Yep. So I believe the Google app is available. I think the App Store is in progress, so that brothers can reach out to me and let me know for sure. But you can see it here, House of Revaya, and this is where the app is. So shout out to our brothers for putting this together. It's another outstanding product offering within our community, and this is one of those things, family, where you see all this stuff that's happening in the world, and one of the things that we're trying to get back to is creating our own, right? Whether it be Hebrew Connect .tv. Shout out to our brother Dwayne, Amore Dwayne on that. But even Hebrew Connect .tv is our own YouTube platform. So just want to make sure that we support that, as well as support content like this, which is Bible Journeys. So if you get a chance, check out House of Revaya for the Bible app. And this is a application by Israelites for Israelites. Hallelujah. All right. So back to our scriptures. So we were talking about the book of Obadiah, about how prideful Donald Trump has been. And you can see that he is playing out the prophecy that we see in Obadiah, where it says, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Let's pull this up here.
What do you make of it all and what's happening in Lebanon? There's a lot there.
Okay. As predicted, we talked about this weeks ago. That this is exactly what would happen. When we had that, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, when Trump made that comment about how he would, he was going to rein Netanyahu in, and that Netanyahu was effing crazy. And in essence, and we said that Trump at that time had shown something we had never seen during this entire war. And that there was someone other than Netanyahu, Hegseth, Marco Rubio, and Lindsey Graham as devils on his other shoulder, pushing him back towards the economic argument that this war had to end and end quickly. Now, we wondered just exactly what it was. Was it the people who made an enormous amount of money off of Donald Trump, who were now going to lose everything they ever earned when U.S. oil would get to the point where tanks would start running dry, right? And we talked about that. It was called tank bottom, is what a lot of the oil analysts called it. And they said that by 4th of July, between 4th of July and September, global economic disaster was coming. And we wondered seriously whether Trump was actually listening to them. But when he made that statement about Netanyahu and Lebanon, and that was he effing crazy and that he needed to get on board, huge tell to the world. It was not about Lebanon. It was not about Netanyahu and his behavior. It was not about Ben-Gvir or Katz or any Smitrovich, any of these other characters. It was about Trump finally understood that economic disaster was coming to America. He finally understood that, and he demonstrated clear desperation to get that deal done. But then he was pushed by the Hegseth Netanyahu, alliance to negotiate through bombs, right? And I think Trump was desperate enough to do that. And that in turn set everything back 3 weeks, started a ballistic missile war with Israel, right? But it focused everyone in the national security sphere for Trump that the boss wanted this thing done.
Yeah, and just kind of elaborate on what he's talking about. This is he's a intelligence analyst. He also served in the military as well. This is the gentleman on the right, Malcolm Nance. And so what he's saying, family, is, what he's saying is that we've gotten to the point where even regardless of what Trump was saying at the beginning, at the onset of the war, talking about how Iran doesn't have anything left, their military is defeated and destroyed, their ships are at the bottom of the sea, all of their air defenses are destroyed. We're flying, we can fly above Iran as much as we want without any problems, unchallenged. But what's in all that stuff, and of course we know Trump likes to lie, we'll just put it to you that way. But unfortunately, it doesn't matter how many lies you put out, how you try to spin it, there was always an undeniable truth that was going to have to be revealed and accepted and exposed to the world. And that is when these Persians, when these pesky Persians, these Iranians started resisting and actually started, how can I put it? Putting pressure on the U.S. via the Strait of Hormuz. Like once they shut the Strait of Hormuz down, there was a time clock that started. And that time clock was when the oil reserves of the U.S. would run out. Because once the oil reserves in the U.S. ran out, and this is what this gentleman's talking about, he's like, when the oil reserves run out, and of course there were estimates as to when it would run out. Some people were saying that they were expecting it to run out sometime in July, or they were expecting it to run out sometime in August or September. Either way, they knew that they were quickly approaching the bottom, because once that oil reserve ran out, gas prices would spike crazy. Like people were saying estimates around $7 or $8 a gallon. Like here, like I'm based out of Georgia, and in Georgia, I believe it's around, if you're looking at unleaded gas, maybe like $3.80 or maybe $4, depending on where you are. I know it's even crazier out there in California, But can you imagine adding an extra $3 on top of that? Like whatever you're paying now, add an extra $3 to $4 per gallon on top of that. Now, that would impact people going to work. That would impact the cars and trucks and stuff going down the roads and delivering goods. Because if they can't afford the gas, then they can't deliver the goods. And of course, to be able to compensate for the additional gas prices, they're then going to have to pass those prices over to the consumer. So when you go to the grocery store, even though you're not going to the grocery store to buy gas, or I guess if you're going to places like Kroger or Sam's, you can buy gas at grocery stores. But if you're just going there just to buy, some goods, the cost of your goods are going to go up, but your salary is not going to go up, right? So this is the thing where they were like, these analysts were warning Trump. It's like, hey, you can talk all you want to, but if that Strait of Hormuz isn't open by, let's say, July, the 4th of July, hey, you know how the Most High does it. Most High likes to make it symbolic. So he might make it symbolic on the 4th of July. But let's say, for instance, if the Strait of Hormuz isn't open by the 4th of July, the bottom's going to fall out, and these chains of events are going to occur that you will not be able to turn around. So this was the warning that Trump was hearing, and what they're saying is that it finally clicked. Trump finally finally understood the equation, and that because he knew that he was getting ready to run out in his strategic oil reserve, now he's in panic mode. Now he's trying to get a deal done. Now, whenever Iran says, hey, we're going to turn off the Strait of Hormuz because Israel can't, this Israeli, let me make sure I say it that way, the Israeli, the state of Israel, not the true Israelites, but the state of Israel, because they want to keep bombing Lebanon, which was a red line to the MOU, Iran saying we're going to turn off the Strait of Hormuz again. Immediately, Israel stopped bombing. Now, we're also at an inflection point because what you're starting to see is there's starting to become daylight between the needs and the wants of the U.S. and the needs and the wants of the Israeli, of the Netanyahus. Before they were together, now you're starting to see them get pulled apart. Remember, a nation divided against themselves cannot stand. This is how the city of Jerusalem fell. This is how our nation fell in 70 AD. When Rome came, when I tell the story of when Rome came to destroy Jerusalem, we had more than enough Israelites in Jerusalem to destroy the Romans. When you talk about Vespasian, when you talk about General Titus, this mega Roman army, believe it or not, the Israelites had more than enough food, weapons, and personnel to not only repel, but to defeat the Roman Empire, the Roman army at that time. And in fact, the very first attack that General Titus made against Jerusalem, he almost lost his life because of the counterattack. The attacked, Israelites countered and went against him, almost took General Titus's life. He escaped by the hairs of his chin. But then, of course, once they repelled, then within Jerusalem, they started fighting again. And this is what caused Rome time to be able to come back with a greater effort and destroy Jerusalem. This is what this same playbook, and this goes back to that principle, a nation divided against itself shall not stand. This is that same thing that we see manifesting here in the U.S., where this dual partnership of the U.S. and Israel is starting to fracture, where the needs of the U.S. of Donald Trump is now starting to become different than that of Netanyahu. Trump, by any means necessary, does not want the strategic oil reserves to go run dry. So by any means necessary, he wants that to remain open. On the flip side, Netanyahu cannot stop the war. He cannot stop the war because his constituents, the people over that he represents, want him to keep warring. They want him to keep bombing, keep committing all these genocides. They want him to move forward. They don't want him to stop. So he has to answer to that. And so this is why they're butting heads. This is why when you talk about 3D chess and we talk about the army, the battle of Armageddon, how this can be written in the scriptures, how every single nation on planet Earth knows about the battle of Armageddon, knows about the consequences of it, knows about how the Most High is coming back, and they don't want no part of it. But the Most High is going to lead them down there. He's going to force them to come down there because of their needs, because of their wants. They're not going to be able to stand and sit on the sideline because the Most High is going to drag them down there by one method or another. So this is where you see this going. At least this is where I see this going. Now what we're going to start to do, family, this is going to start to get into some dangerous territory for Trump and his constituents, because there's some scriptures, family, that's out there that I always had a question about. When it comes to prophecy, I'm just like you all, family. I'm just trying to figure this thing out. I have my guesses. I don't claim to be some sort of expert in prophecy, but at the very least, I know sometimes when I read stuff, I have questions about it. Like, for instance, let me show you something real quick. Let me show you this real quick, family. And it has to do with this prophecy, not necessarily the one about Obadiah. But remember Isaiah. So we were talking about, not necessarily in this video, but in other videos, about how the Medes, the Persians and the Medes, who's represented in scriptures, or Iran, who's represented in the scriptures as the Persians and the Medes, about how they were prophesied to take on and destroy the daughter of Babylon. So of course, there's questions about who isn't the daughter of Babylon. That's debatable. But for those of us who believe that the daughter of Babylon includes, and maybe not exclusively applies to, but the U.S., United States, when we read scriptures like Isaiah 13, where it talks about, verse 1, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah, the son of Amos, did see. And it talks about this judgment that's coming against Babylon. And then when you scroll down, behold, the day of Yah cometh, cruel with, this is verse 9. Behold, the day of Yah cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, says, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Oops, gotta get off me. And it says, for the stars of heaven and the constellation thereof shall not give their light, and the sun shall be darkened. And it says, in his going forth, the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, and a man than golden wedge of Ophir. Therefore, I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place. And the wrath of Yahuwah of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chase roe, and as the sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land. This is why I tell people, family, if you are caught up in being here in America, it doesn't matter if you believe America is Israel, or if you believe Africa is Israel. The word says you are going to go back to your own land. So at that point in time, everybody's going to find out where they're from. And it says, verse 15. Verse 15, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So don't join unto them is one of the major takeaways. Do not join unto them. I tell people, it's like when you were a kid and you were somebody was getting ready to get a spanking, last thing you want to do is to be joined unto them. Why? Because you're going to get a spanking too. So don't be joined unto them. It says, verse 16, the children shall also be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Not the children. Remember how the Most High works. Whatever they did to you is what has to be done unto them. I can't tell you how many, how many accounts of slaves, of Israelite babies. Remember, the slaves were, the babies of the slaves were given for alligator bait. Remember that? That was down in Florida. We'll have an announcement about that too. And also there were accounts about Israelite babies being impaled during the time of the Inquisition, during the time of the persecutions in places like Spain and Portugal. Again, whatever they did to the children of Israel, it has to be done unto them double, at least double. This is why, you look at all these things that they did. It's like, you guys didn't consider that there's payback that's going to come because of it. If you consider that when you do redlining, that when you do police brutality, when you do all this stuff, that literally you're going to have to pay that bill at some point. That maybe if they truly believed in the scriptures, in the fulfillment of that, maybe they would have stopped. But it's like they didn't. It's almost like as if they thought that they could do it and get away with it. And partly because, the reason why is because the Pope had given these things called indulgences. Basically, he says, hey, you can be as dirty as you want. You can be as evil as you want to get the job done. I forgive you of your sins. That was called an indulgence given by the Pope, given by the person who called himself the replacement of Christ. So this is why they did it during those times. And of course, nowadays you have the vestiges or the remnants of that, in that, you can do all this stuff and just be forgiven, right? Again, whatever you do to the children of Israel, wicked, evil nations, is going to come back upon you. That is throughout the scriptures, So in any case, family, we see where it says, verse 17, it says, I'm sorry, let me finish reading verse 16. It says, the children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. That's because of what they did to us. It says, their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. That's because of what they did to us. And it says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. So when they come up and say, well, Iran, we're going to release all these funds to you. You're going to be able to buy and sell, and you'll be able to establish a relationship with all the outside world. Well, it's saying right here, it's like they're not going to regard silver or gold or delight in it. They are going to be of one mind that you have to be destroyed. Doesn't matter how wide you open that pocketbook or purse or wallet, you have to be destroyed, Babylon. And then it says, verse 18 tells how they will be destroyed. It says, their bows also shall be dashed, that shall dash the young men to pieces, their bows, their rockets, their missiles. And it says, and they shall have no pity of the womb, of the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. In Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees, the kingdom of the Chaldees was also a territory of Esau. It says, in Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms and the beauty of Chaldees' excellency shall be as when Yah overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. That kind of plays back into the series called Moedim that's coming out. We're going to get into some Sodom stuff. And it says, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch a tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and in her days shall not be prolonged. So again, we know according to the scriptures that there is a prophecy that the Persians have to fulfill. We can also find this in Jeremiah 51, where it speaks about the same thing. It says, set up a standard. This is 51 verse 12. Set up a standard. Just making sure. I'll start at verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone to his own country. Again, it's saying the same thing. When this judgment happens, everybody's going to be leaving. For her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to heaven or to the skies. It says, Yah brought forth our righteousness. Come, let us declare in Zion the work of Yahuwah our Elohim. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Yahuwah has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. We talked about that before. It says, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yah, the vengeance of his temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes. The ambushes. For Yah has both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. So Babylon's demise is prophesied to come. No matter how many negotiations they get, they engage in, Babylon's demise is supposed to come. But this is one of those things, Finn, where I did have questions. Again, I don't claim to be an expert in prophecy. Just like you all, trying to make an educated guess when it comes to these things. So I am open for some alternative interpretations. But the thing, because this is one of those things where I got all the way down here. Once you keep reading it, it talks about how it says, I will break in pieces the horses and the riders, and with thee I will break in pieces. And it talks about Most High just keeps talking about how he's going to break in pieces these different elements of Babylon. And in verse 24 it says, and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, says Yahuwah. Behold, I'm against thee, O destroying mountains, says Yahuwah, which destroyed all the earth. I will stretch out mine hand upon thee and roll thee up. It says, roll thee down from the rocks and will make thee a burnt mountain. So Babylon's going to be burned with fire. And it says, and they shall not make of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever. So this judgment is permanent. No coming back from this one, no third and fourth iterations of Babylon after this. But it says, set up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms. This is what I had questions about, family. Call together against her the kingdoms of Arad, Mini, and Ashkenaz. I was looking at that saying, well, why would Ashkenaz be against Babylon? Because in this present day and time, we see Ashkenaz confederate with Babylon. They're partners in crime. Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump, partners in crime. Milikowski and Donald Trump, partners in crime. But now we see that there's a fracture that's taking place. Now we see that there's a divergence taking place, that the needs and the wants of Israel are becoming diametrically opposed to the needs and wants of the U.S. And the question is, what are they going to do about it? Are the Israeli going to do about it? Let's check it out. Let me find my screen here.
And based on, we were also getting all of the various points about the MOU that everyone in the Trump administration said was a lie, which as of yesterday, every one of those points was true. And in fact, many of them weren't even half as bad as they are in the actual MOU. So that 3 weeks that we just went through, right, from the point where he insulted Netanyahu, threatened his political career. Remember when he said, hey, when is his election? And that I'm very popular in Israel. That showed me, as a geopolitical analyst, the desperation was about the oil markets, and that the oil people finally got to Trump in a big way, and that the money we were going to lose instead of listening to Netanyahu and Hegseth and Rubio and keep bombing, that money was not going to be in the tens of billions or hundreds of billions. It's going to be towards trillion. And that something was about to happen to the U.S. oil market, that Trump had to cut a deal no matter what, that the SOH had to open no matter what. We spoke about this several times, and several times it kept sort of coming off like it was crazy, but you and I were finally optimistic that an MOU was going to get signed. I did not have any clue that Trump was really almost pathologically, insanely desperate.
I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. It was right in, it wasn't like in the southern side, and it was in Beirut. I did not like that. I let them know that. I didn't like it, not at all.
Listen to what J.D. Vance said here about Iran and Israel.
Go ahead. Thank you, sir. Jordan Conradson with the Gateway Pundit. I want to talk back to the Lebanon component of Israel. There's a report in Axios that Netanyahu's fuming over this. Israel doesn't feel bound to the MOU as it relates to Lebanon. If, as you mentioned, your frustration with Israel striking in Beirut, hitting apartment buildings, if that continues, could it torpedo the deal? And what would the U.S.'s response be to a broader war in Lebanon involving Israel and Hezbollah?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into hypotheticals that could torpedo the deal, because I think the president's expectation is that all of our friends, the Israelis, the Arabs in the region, we're going to work together and actually see this deal to completion. Now, I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you've seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.
So that was J.D. Vance trying to check Israel. Check the those folks that was in the parliament that were, saying these comments about Trump and all this other stuff. He was like, hey, don't forget who we are now. Don't forget where your money come from, right? But at the same time, you have to understand why Benjamin Netanyahu feels the way he feels, because of the reach and the impact of organizations like AIPAC, right? The influence of AIPAC. They control commerce. I mean, arguably, they control Congress in the House. They control all these different politicians. This is why they can get things done. So maybe they're feeling as though that they could put pressure on Trump and his constituents so that they can get what they want done. But like I said, family, this is 4D chess that the Most High is playing, because the Most High has put Trump in a position where he has no choice but to go against it, because the oil reserves, this is like the countdown. Regardless of what anybody says, those oil reserves, when they hit zero, that's when the chariot turns into a pumpkin and the horses turn into little bitty mice again. This is when the bottom falls out of the economy, is what they're predicting. And this is what Trump is terrified of, because when that occurs, there's no turning back, family. There's no turning back. So he's just trying to stop this train by any means necessary. But Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't have the same concern. He doesn't care if the bottom falls out in America. He doesn't care if the oil runs out in America. He wants that plan for greater Israel. He wants to have conquest over in those lands. This is where things start to get interesting.
What kind of pressure will they put on President Trump? I mean, he really can't go back on this.
No. Well, there's something there that I really do worry a great deal about. On one hand, there are a lot of people who are going to call for President Trump's resignation.
Oh.
There will be people out there that will say this is time for President Trump to leave. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not competent. He made a fatal mistake. He should be punished for this. He's got to go away. I'm not necessarily prepared to sign up for that at this stage of the game. It may be appropriate sometime in the future for him to leave, but not right now. Secondly, I'm very concerned that people will threaten his life. I think now more than ever, he is at risk of being assassinated. And I hope that there is a substantial effort being undertaken to sort out who is who inside the Secret Service and inside that White House. This goes back to something that you and I have talked about previously about dual citizens.
Yes.
Holding appointed and elected office. No. We've got to get back to the fundamental meaning of the founding document of this country, the Constitution.
Oh, but we have these dual citizens, and they are within arm's reach of the Oval Office, correct?
Yes, they are. And I think that's something that should concern every American at this stage.
Over this MOU. It's worse than when he insulted Netanyahu. The whole concept of bringing Lebanon in after ballistic missiles did nothing, after Iran showed that they could not only strike U.S. allies in Kuwait, Bahrain, and other places, but then, boom, struck Jordan and then blitzed northern Israel. Trump saw the entirety of whatever disaster he was briefed on. He finally saw that it was coming. And the four horsemen of the apocalypse, he really he had to do whatever he had to do. And the four horsemen of the apocalypse turned out to be nuclear materials, forget about it. Strait of Hormuz, under Iranian control, but you get that one, right? Ballistic missiles in their production, forget about that. I mean, they may have as many as 20,000 surviving ballistic missiles, forget about it. Lebanon, have to get this on board. That's what this MOU came down to. Trump finally understood global economic collapse and the collapse maybe of his portfolio. Maybe the Gulf states got to him and said, you can just forget the towers. We've said that about 100 times during this show. But whatever it was, and here's the key part, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump admitted it yesterday at the G7 that's exactly what he was worried about. All of that time he said, we are 4 weeks from economic collapse, right? From the bottom of oil. And I was like, there it is. As any good intelligence analyst worth his salt, you don't see the stars in the constellation, right? You're looking for the black hole, the place where all energy and light is being pulled into. And when you cross the event horizon, you realize you've gone through a black hole. That was Trump's black hole moment. He admitted what he hadn't been saying for 3 weeks. And what he forgot to say was, it's like he flipped the entire script when he finally told us the truth. We were weeks from economics collapse. By the way, 4th of July is 3 weeks from now. Right? So maybe he knew this information before, but by admitting it at the G7 that the United States was going to suffer an economic catastrophe, and that's why he was playing not hardball with Israel, What did he say the second week? The first week was, are you out of your effing mind? The second week was, I call the shots. Netanyahu doesn't call the shots. Iran doesn't call the shots. I call the shots. Another tell for desperation. So if this were poker, we'd all be raking in like billions of chips, right? We would loan him a lot of money so that he could lose it. And Iran understood this implicitly, that something's going on. The relationship between Trump and Israel fracturing wasn't about Joe Kent, although Joe Kent really was the guy that tapped the glass, right, to let everybody know that there was a pane of glass between us and Trump's relationship with Netanyahu. But it was really that the Iranians were just dedicated to having those missile battles, to dropping those, keeping the SOH, the Strait of Hormuz, closed as long as possible. And they were dog walking Donald Trump into the one thing he had never, ever during this entire war admitted, that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz was leading us all to a disastrous, catastrophic collapse of the American economy. And Hosanna, hallelujah, he said it yesterday.
So he admitted it. Trump admitted it, family, that the U.S. is on the precipice. That's why I say, family, they are so close that they are on the precipice of economic collapse. And that this is why you see the desperation in Donald Trump. Even as we were on this live right now, there were some updates that Trump was doing some posts on Truth Social. And so they're saying that he's lashing out at everybody because Iran closed down the Strait of Hormuz again. So, of course, he's threatening Iran again. Then he's threatening Israel again. And just everybody, right? He's kind of just flailing, right? And he's also threatening to, bomb and do all these different things. Of course, he was threatening nuclear response at some point in time before the people talked him off the ledge. But in any case, family, Trump is desperate. These are some desperate times for the daughter of Babylon. They realize that this situation with Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump, they are on opposite ends of the spectrum. They are diametrically opposed to what the next steps are. And it is going to lead to something, I will say, either catastrophic or devastating within the next month or so.
Now, one last thing to this story. We also said this many times. I want you guys to learn this phrase, decoupled. Israel, 3 weeks ago, decoupled its military strategy and policy from the United States. We were working side by side, right? This is how they say it in Turkey, right? When you're sleeping together.
Okay. How am I meant to know that? How am I meant to say that in Turkey?
Well, you got to get out to Istanbul more. So my point being this. The American relationship at that point was incestuous. I mean, the U.S. Armed Forces, the Israeli army was essentially a branch command, a theater command, a subordinate organization to U.S. Central Command, or equal to it. It was quite surprising. But Netanyahu decoupled Israeli strategy away from Trump when he made his speech and said the one thing that the imperative thing that an Israeli prime minister must do is to learn to say no to America. And at that point, game was over. Lebanon, screw you, Trump. I don't care. Go get your MOU. We're doing what we're doing.
And there you have it. So that is as much as up to date as I can give you, family. Again, there were some new updates that were today. Of course, Trump put stuff out on Truth Social. So again, that bar of rhetoric was raised up again this weekend. And so a lot of stuff going on this weekend, family. Like I said, even though there's the World Cup, there's FIFA going on, even though there was a celebration of Juneteenth, and our folks were complaining that they were getting kicked out of parks and stuff. That's been happening for a long time, family. We even had that here in Atlanta where we had some guests coming from out of town. We were just having a Shabbat service in this neighborhood at a community center, and people in the neighborhood called the popo on us and had us kicked out. I'm just saying, it's just, that's just the curses. It's just the manifestations of the curses. And what I mean by the manifestations of the curses, like this was all foretold. This is like not anything that's new. So we shouldn't be surprised, family, you know, that our people are going through what we're going through, even in the midst of all this stuff, family. And let me just share this with you real quick, and we can adjourn. I know we're over an hour. I was trying to keep it on an hour, but praise be the Most High. We are almost finished. So hopefully you can see that on the screen. This is Deuteronomy 30. And this speaks to the Most High declares the end from the very beginning. You know, one of the time I was blessed to have a conversation with some brother, and they were talking about, you know, so what's the importance of you knowing that you're Israel, right? Is it a black and white thing? You know, God, the Bible's not about color. God don't care about color. It's like, you're right, but he does care about Israel. And when it comes to Israel, there's a prophecy that the people of Israel have to fulfill. And that's regardless of whether or not you know that you're Israel or not, you believe you're Israel or not. There are many people in many nations, many ethnicities nowadays that are standing up and claiming to be Israel without manifesting the signs of Israel, the curses of Israel. You know, the curses of Israel was that they would be scattered to the four corners of the earth, that they would go into captivity, that, you know, all these things that would happen to their children, like that, all the stuff from Deuteronomy 28:15 on down, all the way to 68, right? All the stuff that's there, that's a sign, right? It's a visible sign so that everybody can look at to say, hey, we check all these boxes, so therefore we are Israel. So all these nations that are rising up claiming to be Israel, that's the one thing that they cannot claim, is that those manifestations, that all those manifestations of Deuteronomy 28:15 on down of the curses are visible in their history. That might be able to claim one or two, but not all of them as the so-called African American. Now, in Deuteronomy, we see that the Most High knew that our forefathers would enter into this covenant, go into the bond of the covenant with the Most High Father, Most High Yah, and that unfortunately the curses would fall upon us and we would be scattered. But he also told us what would happen at the end. And so for this, you can see it, Deuteronomy 30, verse 1, and it reads, "And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yah thy Elohim hath driven thee, and shall return unto Yah thy Elohim, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, you and your children, with all your heart and with all your soul." And let me pause here for a moment here, family. If you're wondering why Israel, like these, folks nowadays are talking about turning back to the law, statutes, and commandments, it's because of this verse right here, family. It's because of the Most High prophesied. He was like, this is how we're going to turn the tide. This is how we're going to turn it back. And I had to come to a realization with this scripture myself, because not only is there a turning back that has to occur, but he says you have to turn back with all your heart and with all your soul. So there is a commitment that the Most High is looking for. Because I know, like I said, I personally, when I had turned back, it was haphazardly. And as I look upon the way that I had a relationship with the Most High in these law, statutes, and commandments, and that is, I need to kick it up a notch. I need to commit with all my heart and with all my soul. So just want to throw this out there, family, that it's not just turning back, but he's looking for a level of commitment of turning back as well. Anyway, let's go, family. It says, "And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse, and I have set, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt come them to mind among all the nations whither Yah hath driven thee." So again, the children of Israel will be in a place where Yah has driven thee, where they would have gone into captivity. It says, "And thou shalt return unto Yah and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day. So not anything new, but this day. It says, you and your children in all your heart and all your soul. It says that then, that then Yahuwah, thy Elohim, will turn your captivity. Then he'll take those chains off, take that oppression off. Have them have the popo stop coming and breaking up your gatherings. It says, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, where the Yah thy Elohim has scattered thee. If any of you be driven unto the utmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yah the Elohim gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And Yah the Elohim will bring thee into the land which your fathers have possessed, and you shall possess it. Not anybody else, not somebody brand new that calls themselves spiritual. It says, and Yah thy Elohim will bring you into the land which your fathers possess. So this is not talking about a brand new grafted in people. It says a land which your fathers possessed. And it says, and you shall possess it. Not possibly, but it said you shall possess it, and he will do you good and multiply you above your fathers. Hallelujah. And it says, and Yah, thy Elohim, will circumcise your heart. It says, in the heart of your seed, to love Yah. It says, with all your heart, with all your soul, that you mayest live. And it says, and Yah, thy Elohim, will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. That's what I'm saying, family. This is a promise of the Most High, that whatever with the stuff that you doing in Israel is going to come back on you. So knowing that is in your best interest to turn around and stop doing that and start blessing Israel instead of cursing. And it says, and you shall return and obey the voice of Yah and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day. And Yah the Elohim will make thee plenteous in every work of the hand. It says, in your work of the hand, and in the fruit of the body, and in the fruit of the cattle, and the fruit of the land, for good. And Yah will again rejoice over you for good, and as he rejoiced over your fathers. If you shall hearken unto the voice of thy Elohim to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law. And if thou return unto Yah the Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul, that's that level of commitment I'm telling you about, family. This is a recent revelation that I came to, that come these feast days, I got to kick it up a notch. My commitment has to be beyond what it was before. And it says, for this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hidden from thee. It is neither far off. It is not in heaven, that thou shouldest say, well, who shall go up to heaven to bring it to us, that we may hear it and to do it? Or neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldest say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? Remember, because everybody keeps saying, well, nobody can do it. Nobody can keep the commandments of the Yah. It's impossible. It says, but the word is very near unto you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you mayest do it. It says, see, I have set before you this day, life and death and evil. In that I command thee this day, it says, to love Yah, thy Elohim, to walk in his ways, to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, and that you may live and multiply. And Yah thy Elohim shall bless thee in the land where you go to possess it. But if your heart turn away, and that you will not hear, but shall be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that you shall surely perish, and that you shall not prolong your days upon the land, whether you pass over the Jordan to go possess it. I call heaven and earth to record to thee this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both you and your seed may live, that you mayest love Yah thy Elohim, and that you mayest obey his voice, and that you mayest cleave unto him. For he is your life in the length of your days, that you mayest dwell in the land which Yah sware unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them. Hallelujah. So family, we'll just watch for the redemption of the Most High, which is coming to pass. All these wars and rumors of wars, as we see them go in the news, the escapades and escalades of Trump, it's all part of the plan of your redemption, family. So when you see all this stuff coming to pass, family, look up. All right. Well, love your family. Peace and blessings and shalom.
When you see these signs, you better look up. When you see these signs, you better look up. Yeah, I've been walking through the fire, clothes smell like doubt. Seen the waves over my head, still I never drown. Mama praying in the kitchen, tears on the tile. Say the world getting darker, but that's been for a while. Scroll for the rumors, every headline was. Everybody got a platform, nobody sure. I've been hearing in my spirit, boy, your time close. Got my eyes past the clouds, I don't ride low. Used to chase change, now I chase change. Used to pop pain, now I drop shame. I was stuck, I was broke in my own mind. Then he said, watch close when I show signs. When you see these signs, look up. Your redemption's getting near. Don't run, keep your head to the sky. Don't fall, yeah, we made for the storm. Stand bold. When you see these signs, look up. Every tear, every scar, that's love. He gon' pull you out the dirt, no fear. When you see these signs, know your redemption here. Yeah, I remember late nights, eyes red, no sleep, heart heavy like the rent, pain 7 feet deep. Homies lost on the corner, stuck in the loop. I was one bad choice from the same root. Then I heard that still voice in the backlash. Son, I paid that price, that's past tense. Every time I slip, Grace said stand up. Every time I trip, he still manned up. See the storms getting closer, I don't panic though, cause the hands on my life set the tempo. Prophecies playing out, I ain't surprised. I just tighten up my walk, keep my lamp high. Look up. Your redemption getting near. Don't run, keep your head to the sky. Don't fall, yeah, we made for the storm. Stand bold. When you see these signs, look up. Every tear, every scar, that's love. He gon' pull you out the dirt, no fear. When you see these signs, know your redemption here. I've been down bad, he was still that close. I was off track, he was still that road. I was lost, but I never left his sight. Every sign's just a signal in the night. Hands up high when the sky turn red. Even if I'm hanging on by a thread, I know who gon' catch me if I drop. So when I see the signs, I look up, not to stop. Your redemption's getting near. Don't run, keep your head to the sky. Don't fall, yeah, we made for the storm. Stand bold. When you see these signs, look up. Every tear, every scar, that's love. He gon' pull you out the dirt, no fear. When you see these signs, know your redemption here.